Hi everyone, welcome back to Magic Language Learning with Hermione. We're continuing our magical journey through Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone using intensive reading. This is lesson 1.2 and we're picking up right here where we left off in our first class. In lesson 1.1, we met the Dursley family. We're very proud of being completely normal, thank you very much. But they were hiding a secret they were scared someone might find out. Today we're going to read about a typical day in the life of Mr. Dursley. Let's kick things off. At 8:30, Mr. Dursley picked up his briefcase, pecked Mrs. Dursley on the cheek, and tried to kiss Dudley goodbye but missed because Dudley was now having a tantrum and throwing his cereal at the walls. This line gives us a lively and realistic picture of a busy morning. First, we see Mr. Dursley carrying a briefcase, a flat, rectangular bag used for carrying business documents. Then we have the word pack, which means to give someone a quick and light kiss. Next, we meet Dudley, who is having a tantrum, an uncontrolled burst of anger, which young children often have when they don't get their way. While crying and shouting, he throws his cereal, a common breakfast food made from grains, usually eaten with milk. Altogether, this shows us a chaotic but relatable family scene. Little Tyke chortled Mr. Dursley as he left the house. He got into his car and backed out of number 4's drive. Despite Dudley's bad table manners, Mr. Dursley wasn't angry at all. He called him a little tyke, a playful word for a small, lively, and sometimes naughty child. In Tom and Jerry, the puppy named Tyke is a good example. He's cute, energetic, and behaves like a real little tyke. The word chortle was coined by Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland, because of its literary origin and the fact that it's not commonly used in everyday conversation. It's considered a high-register vocabulary. It paints a vivid and specific picture of joyful laughter. Here we see the word drive again, just as it appeared in the opening sentence of the book. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive. You know, one of the great things about reading novels is that vocabulary repeats naturally. When words like these appear again and again in context, you review them without even realizing it. By the end of the book, you will have mastered them without the feeling of memorizing. It was on the corner of the street that he noticed the first sign of something peculiar, a cat reading a map. Mr. Dursley found it peculiar. It felt strange and not quite right in an unsettling way. So what was so strange? He saw a cat reading a map. Reading means looking at words and understanding them, which is something only people do, not animals. That's why it felt so odd to him. For a second, Mr. Dursley didn't realize what he had seen. Then he jerked his head around to look again. At first, he didn't believe his eyes. Then he jerked his head. That means he turned it quickly and suddenly, like when you hear a loud noise and quickly turn to look. There was a tabby cat standing on the corner of Privet Drive, but there wasn't a map inside. What could he have been thinking of? A tabby cat is the kind of cat that has dark-colored marks on gray or brown fur. It's a very common kind of house cat. Now, there was no map at all, so maybe Mr. Dursley imagined it. It must have been a trick of the light. A trick here means something that fools you. Light can sometimes make things look different. Speaking of tricks, there's a fine example from Halloween. Kids dress up in costumes and go door to door saying, "Trick or treat." They're asking for candy, and if they don't get any, they might play a little harmless trick on you. Mr. Dursley blinked and stared at the cat. It stared back. To blink means to close and open your eyes very fast. We do it all the time, but sometimes we blink because we are confused or trying to see clearly. There's a common English expression that uses this word, in the blink of an eye. It means something that happens very quickly. As Mr. Dursley drove around the corner and up the road, he watched the cat in his mirror. It was now reading the sign that said Private Drive. No, looking at the sign. Cats couldn't read maps or signs. Mr. Dursley gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. There's an English proverb called out of sight, out of mind. A proverb is a short, well-known sentence that gives advice or shares the truth. This one means if you don't see something anymore, you usually forget about it. Just like Mr. Dursley, once he couldn't see the cat, he didn't think about it anymore. As he drove toward town, he thought of nothing except a large order of drills he was hoping to get that day. Let's review. A drill is a tool used to make holes in things. Remember this line from earlier in the story. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. So drills are part of his job. That's why he was so focused on them. On the edge of town, drills were driven out of his mind by something else. As he sat in the usual morning traffic jam, he couldn't help noticing that there seemed to be a lot of strangely dressed people about, people in cloaks. As Mr. Dursley got closer to town, something else caught his attention. He was stuck in the usual traffic jam. That's when lots of cars were on the road and no one can move. While waiting, he started noticing people dressed in a strange way. They were wearing cloaks. A cloak is a long, loose piece of clothing that goes over your shoulders. It's something you might see in old movies or worn by wizards. Mr. Dursley couldn't bear people who dressed in funny clothes, the get-ups you saw on young people. You already know the word bear. It means to tolerate or to stand, like in the sentence we learned before. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the porters. Now let's look at the word get up. Get up is an informal word for a strange or eye-catching outfit. It's often used when someone's clothes look unusual, over the top, or even a bit silly. Watch this moment from The Hunger Games Catching Fire.
You look pretty terrifying in that getup. What happened to the pretty little girl dresses?
Now, take a look at the outfit Katniss wears, the one they're talking about in that scene. That's exactly what people mean by a get-up, something bold, unusual, or attention-grabbing. He supposed this was some stupid new fashion. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel and his eyes fell on a huddle of those weirdos standing quite close by. A steering wheel is the round wheel that a driver turns to control the direction of a car. Drum is usually a noun, like the instrument you can see in the image on the left. But here, drum is used as a verb. To drum your fingers means to tap them again and again, like in the picture on the right. This action often shows that someone is bored, impatient, or annoyed, just like Mr. Dursley in the story. A huddle means a small group of people standing close together. For example, before a sports game, teams often huddle together to discuss their plan. In a business meeting, small groups may huddle to have a quick discussion. So when we say a huddle of people, it means they are gathered closely, often for important or private reason. And he calls them weirdos. A weirdo is an informal word for someone who looks or acts in a way that seems strange or unusual. Mr. Dursley considered people who wore cloaks and walked around in public to be weirdos. They were whispering excitedly together. Mr. Darcy was enraged to see that a couple of them weren't young at all. Why, that man had to be older than he was, and wearing an emerald green cloak. Rage means a very strong and uncontrollable kind of anger. Its verb form is enrage, which means to make someone feel that powerful anger. For instance, in the first picture, the woman was sleeping while people made loud noises outside. The noise made her extremely angry. She felt enraged. The word why is not a question. It's used to show surprise. Mr. Darcy believed that only young people wore unusual clothing, so when he saw an older man, even older than himself, dressed in that shiny green cloak, he was shocked and upset. The cloak is called emerald green. An emerald is a precious stone that is a bright deep green. So emerald green means a rich, shining green color, just like the gem. The nerve of him! But then it struck Mr. Darcy that this was probably some silly stunt. These people were obviously connecting for something. Yes, that would be it. The traffic moved on, and a few minutes later, Mr. Darcy arrived in the Granny's parking lot, his mind back on drills. The nerve of him! That's something people say when someone does something so bold or rude. It's like your eyebrows are about to jump off your face. In this case, Mr. Darcy couldn't believe it. A man right here on the street wearing a shining green cloak, as if it were just an ordinary jacket in the middle of the day. And worst of all, he looked happy about it. How dare he be so cheerful while dressed like that? Struck is the past tense of strike, a word that usually means to hit something physically. For example, you might say, he struck the ball with his bat, but here the word is used figuratively. No one actually hit Mr. Darcy. Instead, it means a sudden idea popped into his head, almost like his brain got tapped by a thought. It's like one of those cartoon moments when a light bulb flashes over someone's head, a clear sign that they've just got an idea. A stunt is an action that shows off spectacular skill and bravery. For example, in action movies, you often see characters climbing the edges of a tall building or doing dangerous tricks on a motorbike. Those are all stunts. But the meaning of the word can be broader. Sometimes a stunt just means something done to grab attention, not always dangerous, but unusual or dramatic. That's the meaning in this case. When people are collecting, they're usually asking for donations, often carrying a box and wearing a big, cheerful smile. You might see them on the street or outside shops, kindly asking passers-by to give money for a cause. We've made it to the review part of today's lesson. Take a look at this picture. Mr. Darcy is giving Mrs. Darcy a quick kiss on the cheek before heading off to work. Here's your review question. Instead of using the word kiss, what more descriptive vocabulary could we use based on what we learned today? You've got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. We can say, Mr. Darcy packed Mrs. Darcy on the cheek. Did you get it? Now that we've gone through it and done a quick review, let's go back and read the original passage once more. This time, close your eyes and let the words paint vivid pictures in your mind. Try to see the scene unfold, just like when someone tells you a story in your own language. Take a deep breath and let's begin. At 8:30, Mr. Darcy picked up his briefcase, pecked Mrs. Darcy on the cheek, and tried to kiss Dudley goodbye but missed, because Dudley was now having a tantrum and throwing his cereal at the walls.
Little tiger, chortled Mr. Dursley as he left the house. He got in his car and backed out of number 4's drive. It was on the corner of the street that he noticed the first sign of something peculiar, a cat reading a map. For a second, Mr. Dursley didn't realize what he had seen. Then he jerked his head around to look again. There was a tabby cat standing on the corner of Privet Drive, but there wasn't a map inside. What could he have been thinking of? It must have been a trick of the light. Mr. Dursley blinked and stared at the cat. It stared back. As Mr. Dursley drove around the corner and up the road, he watched the cat in his mirror. It was now reading the sign that said Privet Drive. No, looking at the sign. Cats couldn't read maps or signs. Mr. Darcy gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. As he drove toward her, he thought of nothing except the large order of drills he was hoping to get that day. But on the edge of town, drills were driven out of his mind by something else. As he sat in the usual morning traffic jam, he couldn't help noticing that there seemed to be a lot of strangely dressed people about. People in cloaks. Mr. Darcy couldn't bear people who dressed in funny clothes. The get-ups you saw on young people. He supposed this was some stupid new fashion. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, and his eyes fell on a huddle of those weirdos standing quite close by. They were whispering excitedly together. Mr. Darcy was enraged to see that a couple of them weren't young at all. Why, that man had to be older than he was, and wearing an emerald green cloak. The nerve of him. But then it struck Mr. Darcy that this was probably some silly stunt. These people were obviously collecting for something. Yes, that would be it. The traffic moved on, and a few minutes later, Mr. Darcy arrived in the Granny's parking lot, his mind back on drills. Congratulations, you made it. Thank you for reading along with Hermione. And remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'll see you in the next one.